You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, very good evening to you, and welcome to the Scottish Football Zone. And this programme, funnily enough, looks at Scottish football. That's why it's called the Scottish Football Zone. And we're joined tonight by a full panel of guests and experts of the game. That rules me out then. So first of all, we're joined by Stuart Murphy, obviously the ex-chairman of Dundee. Hi, Stuart. How are you?
Hi, good evening, guys. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Glad to be on.
And Robbie. Well, these two guys don't really need introductions. Robbie and Alex as well. Busy week of European action, guys. Looking forward to getting to it. Obviously, Robbie and Alex's team go to war on Sunday. But how are you?
Hi, doing well. Obviously a big week of European action. Obviously some probably disappointing results looking back, but obviously Aberdeen was a big highlight last night. So I'm doing well.
Yeah, I'm good as well, mate. Last night, and as a whole, I'd say it's a fairly disappointing week for Scottish football. But the shining light was Aberdeen managing to pull it back, and sort of give themselves something to play for. Obviously, Hibs are only a goal down, and Celtic are drawing, so it's not too bad. But yeah. But it's not the results they would have wanted.
Alex, just going back to the game quickly then, against Club Brugge, I've actually not managed to hear your thoughts on the game. Gone into the weekend, and obviously we'll get into the game a wee bit later on. How are you feeling ahead of the weekend? Because obviously there's been a lot of comments with Russell Martin and fans on very different shows about the weekend and going forward.
The defence is a major issue. I think it was after the Alloa game, the two poor goals to lose. And then he said, we're not going to make mistakes like that again. And then we did the exact same thing, sloppy defending, lack of concentration. So I think the defence is... There's a whole host of issues, but the defence is really concerning. Rangers have kept 2 clean sheets, both of them in Europe in competitive football this season. The rest, they conceded a goal to Motherwell, a goal to Dundee, 2 to Alloa. They obviously conceded one. No, was it? I think it might have been. No, they conceded what I think they conceded one in Panathinaikos, and then they conceded 2 Victoria Pilsen, and then obviously 3 the other night. So yeah, the defence is a main issue. The attack is also not great. Everything about Rangers isn't great right now. But yeah, going into this game on Sunday, after that against Club Brugge and sort of the constant kind of fragility we've seen, I'm not looking forward to it. I said before we came on, I honestly can't see Rangers coming away with anything more than a draw, and that is really worrying.
As a guy in the middle here between the two for Sunday's game, you know what I noticed in the Bruges game was a couple of really odd bits of organisation at the back, which could probably be stamped out quite quickly. Short corners. There was a couple of short corners, and I think one maybe actually led to the second goal, where nobody went across to the receiver, and then there was somebody standing on the edge of the box completely free when the ball eventually came over, and it was almost like they didn't know what roles they were supposed to have. It was almost like they didn't. I mean, it clearly can't happen like that in a dressing room. Whether there was confusion about what the roles were, but I mean that's basic stuff, and for a club the size of Rangers, you would expect that they would get those basics right. And to be 3 down as early as they were, it was just an impossible thing to retrieve, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, the organisational sort of skills was, you know, a major problem that you could see throughout the game, especially with those short corners. You know, they were just like playing it round. They'd maybe ping it to the edge. They'd maybe play it short. They'd mix it up. Sometimes they'd put it in, but they were having a lot of joy, Club Brugge, from those kind of corners. And it was funny because I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember when this has become a thing, but every single Rangers player I think was defending kind of the box, and I was at the game with my dad, and he was saying, "Why don't we just stick Gassama on the halfway line, and then two of them will need to mark him because they don't want him going 1-on-1 with someone, on a break." And then that takes away their threat of hovering outside the box. Instead, everyone's camped in, and you've got three guys standing free on the outside, and they're playing it round you. And I think one of the goals actually sort of directly came from that. So yeah, it's definitely a major problem, and how open the defence is, especially when Rangers lose the ball high up the pitch as well. And I know that's probably Russell Martin's kind of due to the style of play, but it's not working, and they're getting ripped apart. And Nasser Jiga with a massive lapse in concentration. Luckily, he won't be playing on Sunday because he's actually suspended. So I think it'll be John Suter and Emmanuel Fernandez at the back. But it's a shambles right now.
Going back to what you were saying, sorry, but before I forget, see that business about packing the box like that and not leaving anybody up seems to be a trend across a lot of teams. Yeah. And when I've asked coaches why, what they're saying really is it's almost like playing a percentage game. What they're saying is if you pack the box and there's no any space for anybody, then the chances of conceding a goal are pretty slim. But then, of course, the ball just comes rebounding back to you because if you've got nobody up there to take somebody. So your argument there is that if you left somebody up, they would need to at least leave two people back as well, but there would be more space in the box. And I think the modern coaching thinking is that they're more likely to concede. But as a spectator, you look at that and you think it doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it?
No, definitely not.
So we'll come back to that when we're talking about the game on Sunday as well. But before we get into football, a bit of side news to bring you this afternoon. If you haven't heard this, the former Hibs chairman, and obviously he had he was the president of the Scottish SFA, died Rob Peakley at the age of 69. Stuart.
Yeah, it's sad. Rod, I think, only got involved with Hibs supposed to be for a 6-month period, and that was about 30 odd years ago. And I think that football administrators kind of get a hard time sometimes from the terracins, don't they, in the stands, because things go well, things didn't go so well. But his commitment to both club and country is beyond reproach, actually. And at 69, it's really, really sad. And I know I did not actually come across Rod personally in my time at Dundee, but I know from speaking to other folk that he was really quite active in helping clubs survive during the COVID period, and that was a time when he was battling his own illness. So it's sad. It's sad when it doesn't matter your allegiance, does it? It doesn't matter what colour of scarf you're wearing. When somebody like that passes too early, it's sad, and we should all take a moment to think and have a thought for his family. And football in Scotland will be poorer for the loss of Rod.
Yeah. I don't think nobody would disagree with that. That second that you said there, Stuart. So let's go on to, well, first of all, let's go on to Hibs last night in Aberdeen in European action, and maybe Aberdeen fans would have a wee joke and a laugh at Celtic and Rangers and Hibs because it's kind of like 1-0 to them, if you know what I mean, in the kind of European stakes as well. Robbie, turn to you on this one. I only saw the last 20 minutes of the second half when Aberdeen scored the equaliser as well, get back into the game, but decent at home as well, 2-each.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before we came on. I thought Aberdeen started up a slow in the first half. They probably rightly found themselves 2-0 down. And I said to the guys as well, if that red card never happened, I would have worried about the full-time result would have been, because it sort of forced Bucharest to sort of sit deep a bit in the second half and, you know, invite pressure onto them. Aberdeen rightly, though, done well. Tillene made changes that I think he needed to. He made a lot of attacking changes, and it worked. They found a way back into the game. They're level now going into Bucharest, and they've gave themselves a really good chance, but they cannot start next week the same as they did in the first half in that leg, because they were so slow. Bucharest just had to sit back, and they were sort of hitting on the counter attack. You could see that, and it was working every time. I mean, that number 9 they've got was causing them all sorts of problems. So I think it'll be a big week next week for Aberdeen, but they need to start on the front foot.
Yep, Stuart.
Yeah, can't disagree with anything that Robbie said there. I mean, as you know, I think they need to put last night behind them in a load of ways, and they'll have got the makings of the opponents as well. And that's another thing. You know, they were caught short quite early in the game, and I think that the reduction to 10 men certainly did make a difference to the match. And you're right, Robbie. I don't know where it would have went had they kept the full complement on the park. Having said that, it's even, right? And you're going into the second leg, and the pressure's now back on the home team in a lot of ways, because expectation levels for Aberdeen are not going to be as high as they are for Bucharest. So for me, it's pretty much in the mix. I think they've still got a chance, actually. It just takes a goal away from home, and suddenly dynamic changes, and anything can happen. So yeah, good luck to them. I just hope for the sake of Scottish football, because it's not been a great week, that you know, they could recover the position and get themselves over the line next week. So fingers crossed for them.
And then Alex, disappointing night for Hibs at home against Legia Warsaw. Obviously that game wasn't on the TED. I don't know if any of you guys has managed to catch the highlights as well, but I mean, I think it's a kind of like uphill struggle for the High Bees to go over to Warsaw and progress to the next phase.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, you know, losing the first leg at home. And yeah, I didn't manage to catch the game, either game actually, because I was out last night. But anyway, but yeah, it is really disappointing, and it makes it a much tougher ask for Hibs, and certainly I was maybe expecting it to be a bit closer. I think even Legia Warsaw went 3-0 up at one point, but it was actually ruled out as well. So you know, it could have been a lot worse. They get the goal back though. You know, cut it back to a 1-goal deficit to go over to Poland. Hopefully, try and get something. And surprise, who scored? Kieran Bowie, who. Like, I know there'll probably be quite a lot of Scotland content over the next few weeks, I'd imagine, leading up into the international break. But I swear, if he's not starting for Scotland, I don't know what Steve Clarke's doing, because for a while I've thought, mate, his time. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but for a while I thought Steve Clarke's sort of time in the job should have been up. I feel like he did excellent, you know. I feel like he's reached his kind of ceiling, and sort of his kind of refusal to change has been frustrating for a lot of Scotland supporters. And he did try it a couple of times, and then he sort of reverted back to type, and we've not. And our record recently hasn't been great either. So, and I think another misstep for him would not having Kieran Bowie starting up top for Scotland.
Alex, I agree with you. I think Bowie should start. Am I not right in saying no, it was Mulligan that got the goal last night?
I thought it was Kieran Bowie.
I thought I seen somewhere it was Bowie, and then I thought Hibs putting on Twitter saying that it was Mulligan that got it.
It was Mulligan, but
Oh,
it doesn't take away from what you said, Alex. That's accurate.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
sorry
sorry about that. Yeah, that's me, mate. I've already been sacked of poor research. I'll just retire right here. Couldn't even get the scorer right. No, it's because I saw on the scores last night that it was Kieran Bowie, so I just retained that in my head.
I agree with your point, but I think Bowie probably should be in the Scotland squad starting.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go. I mean, both sides have cancelled the second legs of the cancelled the second legs. I'm getting worse than you. Alex has put me off there. No, they cancelled the games at the weekend, and I'm sure Robbie's got a lot to say about the St Mirren Rangers game. Was it on? Was it off? Was it on? One minute I thought they were doing the hokey as well. But yeah, I mean, fair play to the SFA. They've gave them permission to cancel both games at the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a big thing that's been long overdue in Scotland for a while. For some reason, for the longest amount of years, we seem to be the only country in Europe that didn't want our clubs to succeed in European competition. You know, because other clubs did it over the years. I know from experience playing the likes of PSV. And Willems Fay a few years back that the Netherlands do it. So I think it's a good thing that they've finally, it's come around and it's an actual. You can pick and choose which fixture you want to postpone for the the importance of the game, and it's a great thing, and I think it will give them apt preparation, recovery, and really focus on making it into the league phase.
I think you've got to give credit. Sorry, Mike, you've got to give credit to guys like Russell Martin as well. Because I know Martin spoke and said that anyone wanted the game against us to be played, but I'm led to believe that Bruges don't have a game in between them next game against Rangers. So you think maybe Rangers would have wanted that game off so that they could put their full focus into trying going away there and at least try and get something out of the game. I know it seems like a pretty daunting task, Alex, for the way the last few weeks have went, but you would have maybe wanted your players fully fit for that game.
Yeah, maybe, but I think right now the best thing for the current situation is Rangers just need to keep, if it is going to get any better, they just need to get minutes in the legs and get games under their belt, playing the way they're playing, and try and build up a bit of momentum and get more used to it, and actually improve, because the only way that they are going to improve is if they just keep going. And I don't think right now the current state the squad's in, dropping out. I think choosing to drop a game is more of a luxury, and I don't think Rangers can afford luxuries right now. I think they just need to keep trying to play at every opportunity. However, if we were going into the second leg and that Gassama goal had counted and it was only a goal difference, maybe I'd be thinking differently. Maybe it's because subconsciously I think the tie's done. But I just think right now for this squad, they just need to keep going, keep the momentum going, and finish strong before the international break. Because if they go into the international break, having drawn or lost the St Mirren and getting beat by Club Brugge out the Champions League, and then obviously they're hosting Celtic at Ibrox, and then if they get beat by Celtic as well, it could it could go nuclear in Govan.
I think that's maybe the psychology in there as well, is that to play that game stops the rot in a sense. They could work through their issues on the park, as Alex has described. They can maybe get themselves on a more level footing. And of course, if they didn't play the game, and Celtic win their home game, which is probably expected, by the time you get to the end of August, that scenario you've just painted there could be even worse. So, having that gap of points by the time you're not even into September, you're talking about nuclear. I don't know if there's a bigger word than nuclear, but I could just imagine the reaction in that part of Glasgow if that was the case when, we're just only in September. So I think maybe playing the game and in their head winning it just keeps them in touch. But it's not an easy place to go just to think you're going to go there and win, is it? No, these days. So
I think as well that you were saying that a nuclear maybe that's gathering pace over the East End of Glasgow at the moment as well. So, but I mean the Celtic and Livingston game. Say what you want about David Martindale's team coming to Parkhead. But for me, guys, I think the headlines has been written off the park as well. Like me and Alex did the show on Wednesday night, and Celtic were very, very poor as well. But I mean, you've got to show respect to that team because they went through about 3 qualifying games just to get to the playoff for the Champions League as well. So I mean, you can say what you want, but obviously you've got to give credit to that team as well that they come up and they kind of set a game plan for the game. Alex as well, but also I think as well that and there's more concern as well that Alistair Johnson might be out for 4 months, and also Adam Ida. People's got their own thoughts about Adam Ida, and Oscar Karski is out tomorrow as well. So I think if you were a Rangers fan, you would be licking your lips because Celtic might be coming to Ibrox like a wounded animal next week. Well, so could Rangers actually, depending in next week's game. So it's got to be quite interesting.
Aye, definitely. I was talking to Ethan about this, about the situation both our sort of clubs are in, and I'm going, you're only saving grace right now as we are somehow even worse. It's quite funny actually, and he agreed. He went, yeah, so see if if Rangers had their act together, we'd be in real trouble because the recruitment's still not been fantastic from Celtic. They still need players. Well, I just looked at the date on my laptop there. I've not really processed it properly. We're on the 22nd of August now. Obviously, deadline day is coming up. Celtic still haven't brought the players in that that they need. I would say that Brendan Rodgers clearly wants. Some interesting words from him in his press conference as well. His press conferences are becoming the most entertaining thing in Scottish football, I think. And with these injuries as well, it adds more pressure because if Alistair Johnson's out for 4 months, they need another right back, even like a loan until January or something, or because you can't. I think he's all right, but I don't think you can play that long with Anthony Ralston as your starter. And then they still need another left back because Liam Scales is basically the backup left back, and I think he's fine there as well. But you can tell he looks awkward when he's playing there. He looks awkward all the time, but he looks even more awkward when he's playing at left back. But I think it's just the way he plays. But you can tell when he's in that position, he's a wee bit uncomfortable. So they still need another left back because obviously Kieran Tierney's excellent, but we've seen he's injury prone. We've seen he still can't really play a full 90 minutes. He comes off around the 60, 70 mark. So they still need that. They still need strength in the attacking areas. And now if he does got an injury, they need it even more. They still needed it before, but now they need a proper striker and I think they need at least another left winger and a starting right winger. And it's I mentioned this before. I think a couple of times on the show. It's weird that all their links seem to be central midfielders, which for me is the perfect area of the pitch for Celtic. The only like area of the pitch you could look at that and go, I don't think that needs any improvement. So it's a funny transfer strategy they seem to be taking. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I was listening to a press conference down south when the Nottingham Forest manager, and they were speaking about his relationship with the board and how it's only getting worse. Well, I'll be interested to see the business at Celtic Day within the next sort of week and a few days, and then hear what Rodgers has to say if it's nowhere near what he wants, because I think he has made a lot of demands and what he needs and what he thinks the squad needs. So if we get at the end of this window and Celtic haven't fully strengthened where Rodgers wants to, it'll be interesting to hear what he's got to say about the relationship with him at the board and the way the windows went.
Well, let's ask one ex-chairman. Oh yeah, we have an ex-chairman on the show tonight, Stuart, for Dundee. I know that there's big comparisons between Dundee and Celtic, but Gus kind of
a much bigger club, Michael. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but Gus, I meant to say Dundee United there. But no, but Gus gets explained to us and people it's watching like the kind of relationship between a manager and a board, especially when the transfer window is opened.
It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial, and you'll not be surprised to hear me say that. Look from the outside looking in on this situation, it's almost as if the board are gambled on or getting through to the Champions League stages before they're going to part with any cash. It's almost like they were leaving it to exactly the last moment possible before they knew. But this is a club that is technically awash with cash anyway, and so you look at that business strategy and you kind of. I mean, we don't know what's been going on in the background, in terms of the contacts they've tried to make, signings they've tried to make, that have maybe failed. Players have maybe decided to go elsewhere, etc., etc. We all know how that works. But from the outside looking in, the optics aren't great. It looks as if they've waited to the last minute, so they know that they're going to get a windfall, and then they're going to splash the cash, and it could well backfire on them. It could well backfire on them because a 0-0 draw. Traveling 3,500 miles in the hope that you're going to get over the line in the next match. It's not easy. And these teams are not mugs. I mean, we saw it with that team the other night. I mean, years ago, you would have looked at a tie like that and thought, well, pretty much a formality is going to be, is it? It's not like that these days. That team were decent, could have scored. And in fact, 0-0 was probably the size of it, really. So I wonder about, you ask about the relationship between manager and board. It's crucial. Right now it looks a bit fractured. I think, Brendan Rodgers is making some almost political comments in those, because you're right, what you're saying, Alex. I mean, they're really entertaining post-match interviews. They're brilliant. And it's just like he's ramping, he's just tossing the pressure right back up because he's saying, I've not got enough resource here. It's just no there. And I'm missing stuff. And if this is what I've got to work with, this is what you're going to get. So the next few days are going to be pretty. I'm going to keep a watchful eye on that one. That's for sure. Oh, and sorry, another thing about this, Michael and guys, is that the longer it goes, the more money they'll need to spend, because we'll be getting to the stage where they're going to need to splash the cash if it's transfer fees. Which it is, that's the world they're living in. It's no signing free players, it's transfer fees. So, yeah, they've maybe boxed themselves into a corner here.
I think that me and Alex was talking about this after the game on Wednesday night. Alex, Stuart, do you feel as though that because we haven't heard of that team that we're playing in, and obviously the other teams they've come up with in Europe over the years, and I'm thinking about as we know in West Central Scotland, Carrier Bag, the team Celtic played a few years ago as well. Do you think it's a case of Scottish football fans being a bit snobby in a way, like, oh, well, they're expected to win? Well, to be honest, you're not expected to win any game of football, sure. I mean, because like that's not the way it works.
I think what's happening here, Michael, is that we've got a false appreciation of the standard that we're living in, right, and the standard that we've got. I mean, it's a reasonably competitive league, from the rest down. But when you make the step up into some of these European ties, you've seen it already. You've seen a couple of decent performances in Europe from the Scottish sides, but really when it's came at the crux of it, they've been found a bit wanting. So I think you're right. I think you look at some of these names like Carrier Bag or whatever you want to call them, right? You look at some of these names of teams and you look at them and think, well, that's just going to be a knockover. What's next? And it's not like that because teams are organised these days. And the modern style of football means that you're going to come up against teams that are fit, organised, unless you're playing Rangers, of course, just now. Sorry, I couldn't resist that jibe. I had to throw that in there.
Not as well. Celtic historically haven't been great against Kazakhstan teams. I think it's kind of drawn to and lost to in former ties. So, gone that away trip, you mentioned, Stuart, how long it is gone there and back, in the heat as well. It's not going to be an easy task at all for Celtic. It may be one that some Celtic fans are looking at it going, are we actually going to be able to go ahead and win this tie? Because how difficult it's going to be.
See, just on that as well, I might be pulling this start out my backside, so nobody quote me on this, but I swear I read somewhere that no Scottish team has ever won in Kazakhstan.
No, it's not. No, it's not your backside, Alex. That's a very, very close start, and that should be worrying for Celtic fans.
The national team got cuffed there a few years back, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Levin's going to come to Celtic Park tomorrow. Robbie, do you think that they'll be looking forward to tomorrow's game? Well, they'll be looking forward to tomorrow's game anyway, but because Celtic are so fragile, but I would be interested to see what the atmosphere is, not like on the park, but off the park as well.
I think every Livingston fan will be looking at the likes of us the way we're looking at Rangers. I don't think Celtic are as bad a spot as Rangers right now, but look at it from the perspective of there's so much discontent between the manager and the board, and the fans are starting to get a bit annoyed. If we try and use that advantage and see what happens, and look, saying that it's still going to be a very, very difficult task going to Celtic Park. It's never easy going there. They'll need to be so good defensively. Livingston have already conceded, I think, 5 goals in their opening 3 games, so they conceded quite a few goals. So it'll be a difficult task, but Martindale knows how to get his players up for a game. And I think, not to discredit Livingston too much, but a lot of the eyes are going to be on what Celtic do and how Celtic handle the game, because if it's not a comfortable afternoon or Celtic even drop more points, all the rage after the game is just going to be what's Rodgers going to say, or, this and that. And, I feel bad for Livingston because they might not get the praise that they need, but it will be something that I think Martindale will try and use to his advantage. I think he will try and frustrate Celtic and try and make it difficult and just see what he can get out of the game, because your best chance of playing Celtic's when they're not exactly at their best, and right now they're not at their best, especially with the injury update that we were talking about earlier.
Alex, it's one of these ones where it's refreshing to hear a manager, David Martindale, was talking about the game. He said that it'll be a difficult game, but we're going to try and compete. That's really well. What they're saying, what they do is like 2 different things, but that's really refreshing, because we saw Livingston going to Parkhead before, Ross County, other teams like that, sitting behind the ball and making it a bit frustrating. But I mean, it sounds as though that David Martindale is coming to Parkhead and having a go, and that kind of like makes it a better game.
Yeah, it can do. David Martindale's, I think he's been very honest and open and clear that he's not going to try and play the same style as his last run. in the Scottish Premiership, where because he's going to stick to the style that got them promoted, a more expansive, exciting style of football. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be naive. I don't think he's going to send these players out and tell them to go toe to toe with Celtic, because then that, no matter how bad, I don't care if it's Anthony Ralston or you've chucked you've pulled some youth players out or something into the starting 11. With the way Celtic play, if you try and do that, they'll just rip you apart. But if they're clever about it, if they do it in the right ways, similar to Kairat, get in their face, go for every second ball, just run your socks off. Basically, it's tough, it's hard work, but if you do it right, you can get your rewards, and pick your moments to be aggressive as well. Going there to compete doesn't necessarily mean throwing all sort of logic out the window. So I don't think David Martindale will be naive, and I think we might see something interesting. I can see this game going one or two ways. It's either going to be a battering, or it's going to be really, really close. It's not going to be like a comfortable, watch this happen, by the way. It's not just going to be like a comfortable 2-0 win for Celtic or whatever, where it's either going to be really tightly contested and they're going to be battling for everything, or Celtic are going to batter them.
It's an interesting point that Graham makes in the chat, guys, and I would be interested to hear your thoughts, especially Alex from the other side of the city. Basically says that Celtic has won trophies after trophies after trophies, but more gets the fans wrong. They even win the champ, and also chanting sack the board, and and well done to TNT, because the editor said, must have said, quick, let's get the cameras on Lowell and Nicholson in the box as well. So what do you make of these comments, guys?
So I think what the Celtic fans are looking for is just some sort of display of kind of ambition. I don't think maybe some fans are delusional and think they can win the Champions League. I think the majority of them are not under the impression that if they get these players in, that they'll compete for the Champions League. They just want to see more sort of competitive kind of, spirit, I would say, in Europe. More sort of ambition from the board to propel them forward, because last season they got a bit of it, and I've mentioned it. I think I mentioned it on Wednesday maybe or something. They took Bayern Munich all the way to the last kick of the game, and they could, and it was unfortunate, but they were really good that game, and they saw a path to be decent in Europe, because it's not been good. Celtic have been abysmal in Europe for years now, and the fans, I'm sure, are loving all the trophies. I know I'm hating not getting all the trophies, but I think they just want to see a bit of ambition and sort of go beyond the realms of Scottish football and just put themselves on the map in like a global or European/global stage.
I mean, do you guys think that is the reason why Celtic on the spin? I mean, I've said it in a few other places as well, but until Celtic get a real sort of threat, in the league and them winning trophies, Celtic can almost win a double every season. That's at least what they've shown in the last sort of 10 years. They can usually win one or two trophies a season. So until Rangers put pressure on them, in case it be any other team by some miracle,
Oh well, if Tony Bloom has his way, Hearts will be up there in the next few years challenging.
supercomputer came with it and Paisley Buck could it. But no, I think unless some real challenge comes on to Celtic by Rangers or whoever else it might be, then the board don't feel any reason to spend money. And I know that isn't how the fans look at it. The fans look at wanting to see, but there's probably still money, but fans always speak about Jota leaving, Nicholas Kuhn leaving, Jota leaving the first time, you look at Tierney leaving the first time, and fans just want to see a bit of reinvestment into the squad. But, as I said, until a challenge threatens Celtic, why should they spend money? When they can win trophies every season, why should the board look at that and go, we need to spend money, you know what I mean?
I agree with that. I think there is an element of kind of complacency, from the board to to just keep on top of domestic football. But I think that's the fans' kind of main grievance with that. They kind of don't want they want to keep dominating domestic football, obviously, but they want to sort of go beyond that, and and if the shoe was on the other foot, I think I'd be the same. If my manager had just come off the back of winning the league, winning the League Cup, obviously fell short of the treble by a whisker, making it to the knockout rounds of the Champions League, and he wasn't getting. This was the sort of treatment he was getting in terms of the resources that he's been given. I'd be the same. I'd be quite upset, and I'd be going, "What's going on here?" Because Brendan Rodgers, I think as well, because he's been here twice, we forget Brendan Rodgers is a really good manager as well. He nearly won the league with Liverpool. He's won an FA Cup with Leicester. He's an excellent manager, and I think if you do give him, and he's shown in the past, if you give him the right tools, he can deliver.
I think part of this discontent comes from a different place as well. I think that they know the club has money. That's been quite well documented. Financially, it's doing really, really well. But historically, they've not been big spenders. I'm a different vintage to you guys on the podcast today, but I can remember a time when they used to refer to the biscuit tin at Celtic Park. Just when they open it, and probably a lot of fans are thinking, I'm paying hard-earned money here. I'm paying top dollar for my season ticket. I want to see that money reinvested. I know there's money there. Why I was sitting, edging towards the end of August, and I'm looking at a team that's not got a resource to get. Now that there's those, you referenced those couple of injuries, there's 2 or 3 injuries that they've had. I mean, a club like Celtic shouldn't be struggling if they lose one striker and one right back. You shouldn't be thinking where the replacements are coming from. So I kind of think that there's a historical thing that runs through the DNA of that club. I think that in the support, at least, that think, here we are, it's a different regime, but here we are in a situation, can go back to, when they didn't want to spend money in the 80s and different things like that. So I think that's part of it. But all the other things the guys have said on the podcast are relevant as well. But I think that's what causes some of the disquiet.
For Dundee, Robbie, we'll get to Dundee in a minute. I'm jumping ahead here. But for Livingston, they'll be, as we say, they'll be looking forward to going to Parkhead and putting up a show.
And if they can make it difficult for Celtic, I mean, look, we know what happens when teams have went to Ibrox or even went to Celtic in the past. If you make it difficult for the fans in the first 25-30 minutes, they start turning and getting a wee bit toxic at these grounds. They've all started getting on the players' back, and that's what Livingston need to hope for. If they can survive their opening 25-30 minutes, for people say it all the time, you sort of take football in stages for these type of teams, going away to Celtic Park, whatever, the game is taken in stages. So if Livingston can survive that sort of first part, then, you can go and have a real go at Celtic. And I'd be interested to see the Celtic lineup. I think that's one of the big things, because I'm interested to see who he picks, especially in the attacking areas. And obviously we know Ralston's going to be in, so there's probably a couple of positions that Martindale themselves looking at and going, trying to exploit here and there, but it's easier said than done going to Celtic Park.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that's the game tomorrow. Brendan Rodgers basically, all the press conference was about signings again. That's about 3 or 4 press conferences I've been to, and he's getting asked the same questions and questions. But be assured, Celtic fans, that he's not going to walk away, because that's what he was asked again. He said no, because we all know what happened the last time to that one. Apart on the game, he said, looking forward to the game. David Martindale has done a good job, and they will make it difficult for us tomorrow. So that's Celtic and Livingston. Let's go on to the game between. I should actually put up a big V next to Robbie and Alex Stewart, in case they start fighting or whatever. But St Mirren against, in fact, you two are the opposite ends of the screen, because Robbie should be first and then Alex, but there you go, that's me being picky again. St Mirren against Rangers on Sunday, 12 o'clock kickoff. Of course, that is a TV game this week. We're back to one TV game instead of 5 games a week. But don't get me started on TV and football. But St Mirren against Rangers, you must fancy your chances, Robbie, going into this game.
Merlin, I'm probably going to go on, to be honest with you. I said that the other day. I'm feeling this is probably the most confident I felt playing Rangers in a wee while. And you can never feel overconfident, I feel, because Rangers have pretty much every advantage. I know stuff's gone wrong at the club and it's not exactly been brilliant, but the money advantage on them to us is absolutely huge. The day of players in there that can cause us problems, so we need to be careful. And add on top of that, the injury list that we are building right now, Mandron's probably the biggest miss to the game at the weekend. He's done with an injury. Conor McMenamin's out, Liam Donnelly, Roland Adogu. So there's players in there that it's unfortunate that they're missing out, but hopefully it gives us a chance to see some of the new players that we've maybe not got to see yet. I think I'm excited to see how the game unfolds, because I think the longer it goes on, and assuming Alex the away end will be sold out, I think it always is when they come to Paisley. How will the Rangers fans react to the game if it's not gone their way? How will they react towards Russell Martin? All that sort of stuff during the game is going to be interesting to watch. We'll obviously have it pretty much next to the away managers, so seeing Russell Martin and his body character as the game goes on, that'll be an interesting factor as well.
Yeah, just on your point about the fans there, I think away fans, I've noticed, tend to be a wee bit better than the sort of home support when it comes to, getting frustrated during the games, because I don't know, I feel like when you're away, you're there, you're there for like a bit of a day out, and you just want to, try and enjoy yourself, and just keep supporting your team the whole way. I feel like if you're in the away end, is perhaps a little bit of a different atmosphere to where it would be like at Ibrox, where it was like at Ibrox on Tuesday. People getting booed and all. It was so funny. Actually, at one point, obviously after the sort of opening goal, there was a point later in the game, and I think it might have been 3-0 or 3-1 at one point, and a ball was coming through, and they were like chasing back, and then Butland came out and cleared it, and then like a section of the crowd was like, "Way!" Because instead of the two of them not actually doing anything, one of them took charge of the situation. But unfortunately, the damage was done by that point. But yeah, the crowd can get quite bad at Ibrox, but I think the away crowd will be better. In terms of the game, I'm really nervous, Robbie. I think you guys are going to beat us. I just think a Stephen Robinson. See this current Rangers side going up against a Stephen Robinson team. They're going to get absolutely bullied, battered about. They're probably going to get played around. Because I really admire Stephen Robinson. I think he's a great manager, and obviously you had a bit of good news recently with the extensions. I'd imagine you're buzzing with that. And yeah, I think he's like quietly sort of just solidified himself as like, you know how back in the day when Derek McInnes was at Aberdeen, and it was kind of like, you know, you were wrecking. He was like wrecking. I'm saying back in the day. That's because I'm only 20. It wasn't that long ago. But yeah, when Derek McInnes was at Aberdeen, and he was like building that kind of like reputation of like he was like the, I don't know how to say it, like the guy outside of maybe the other kind of, maybe whoever was the Celtic manager, you know what I mean? I feel like Stephen Robinson is just sort of building up that reputation of just consistency, and you know what you're going to get with a Stephen Robinson team, but it's difficult to prepare for, you know?
Alex, one thing I think excites me in the game, and you know, I couldn't be more praiseful of Robinson and the players, because I think that I know how we'll set up at the weekend. I know we'll try and press Rangers, hopefully into a couple of mistakes. We've seen it happen, but I'm looking at our defence coming up against your attack, and I'm intrigued because I believe, listening to Russell Martin earlier, that Dessers is going to be missing the game. And Dessers is one that I personally, and I know a lot of Rangers fans disagree, and a lot of fans in general, but I do think he causes teams problems. I don't like coming up against Dessers. He is always a pain. He always creates chances. Sometimes he scores, sometimes he doesn't. But I'm just looking at that Rangers attack, and I'm struggling to find out where the goals on the Rangers side anyway are going to come from. I think when we're so strong defensively, and when we can put in such good defensive performance against pretty much any team, I really do struggle to see where the Rangers' creativity is going to come from at the weekend.
Yeah, I think right now it's who we're relying on is Jedi Gassama, and he is brilliant, right? But he can't be that player every single game. You know, it's, you know, unless your name is Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, you can't play to your best every single game for a season, near enough. You know, so it is. He's who we're relying on, but there's no guarantee that he's going to show up. And I thought he was really good on Tuesday, and he was unlucky not to get a goal, not just from the. I think it was rightfully disallowed, but he had chances that were just wide and stuff like that. But you know, if he doesn't show up, I don't see where it's coming from either. After a great first game, Ant-Man shrunk, and then you know. Danilo, he's so weird. Danilo, great pre-season, and then he's just disappeared. I think he doesn't move enough. He's not physical enough, and it's really frustrating me. If Hamza Agaman's fit enough to start, I'd start him up top. I just think he causes a wee bit of chaos. You never know what he's going to do because he's so confident. He'll try like a stupid skill move and it might come off, or he might just bundle his way through because he's massive. You know what I mean? So yeah, but other than maybe Gassama and Igaman, I'd agree with you, Robbie. I don't see where the threat's coming from any Rangers player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Stephen Robertson was speaking to the media on Wednesday. Robbie, I don't know if you saw it, but he says it's going to be a very tough game. They've still got some good players that can hurt us, but we know that we are the underdogs. And do you think Stephen Robertson's playing that game very well in terms of like he doesn't want to give like too much away and say, you know, that they've got more of a budget and more of a fan base and all the rest of it.
I mean, I think he's spot on. I don't think, you know, no one can say we aren't the underdogs. You know, every time we go to play Rangers, it doesn't matter how poor they're playing, we are massive underdogs for the game. So it's going to be interesting. I'm fairly confident that we can get a result in the game. Probably more confident than I feel like I'm going to be by 11:59 on Sunday morning. So I will need to see how it goes, but I do think we have got a good chance of picking something up.
Robbie, Alex, it's been a difficult week for Rangers. I would maybe say caveat and say it's been a difficult few weeks for Russell Martin under his tenure. And look, I'm going to say this again, guys, but like even if you wanted Russell Martin in, even if you didn't want Russell Martin in, he's still the manager. You still got to support him until the day that he leaves Ibrox. So get behind your man. Russell Martin was speaking today about the game on Sunday. He says, disappointed, but we're focused on how we push on, and that will begin on Sunday. And yeah, I mean,
he said that every week. Honestly, next time, was there any quotes from his mum this time? Because he was talking about his mum in the last one. So, saying, oh, I'm doing all right, Mum, I'm loving it. I'm glad you're loving it, mate. I'm not enjoying it.
His mum asking that question, actually. His mum asking that question.
Yeah, no, he says that every week.
Alex, I was watching a couple of things on Rangers because it's so interesting, and I've seen it there. You're looking at guys like Connor Goldson, you go back to Stephen Davis, and Arfield, Lundstrom even. It just seems to me, for the amount of players that Rangers have brought in, they've not replaced any of them. They've not replaced that type of quality that you get in a team. They've not replaced that leadership. I mean, Russell Martin's been speaking about the leadership group. I mean, there's very few players in there that seem to show any leadership when it comes to on the pitch anyway.
Yeah. We don't really have a spine, because if I think back to the last time we won the league title, it was, I'd say the main components were obviously Tavernier, and then in goals you had Alan McGregor, and you had Connor Goldson. In midfield was Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield, and then you had like Kamar Ruffin and Alfredo Morelos up top as well. Ryan Kent, probably his best season. So, we don't really have anything like that right now. It's difficult. I feel like there's potential for some of them to be part of that spine. John Suter, Nicholas Raskin jumps to mind. I think actually we spoke about him earlier, but I think Cyril Dessers is a really big figure in this team, and I feel like he could, because I agree with you, Robbie. I think he's good. He does got his problems, and even if I'm pulling my hair out after he's had like 12 shots by himself against Dundee. He scored the last one. So it can be quite frustrating watching him, but as a whole, yeah, there aren't those characters, those leaders, and the thing is, they were good players as well. If you look at the current leadership group, one of them's Kieran Dow. And I don't know how you can lead from the bench, to be totally honest. Russell Martin stuck with him for a while, and then I don't know if he had some sort of like epiphany that Kieran Dow was actually rubbish, and that's why he's benched him now. But sorry, I've gone on a bit of a rant there, but I'm just letting my emotions out here. It's not been a good few weeks.
You're amongst friends, Alex. Just let it go, mate. Just let it go. You're in a safe place.
Alex, I was going to ask if you've seen the under-17 Rangers player that's been sort of in the headlines the last sort of couple of days.
No, was that?
I'll need to send it to you that the Rangers have got an under-17s defender, right? And I believe he's the captain. This guy, when I say he could just walk straight into the Rangers back line and they wouldn't look out of place, I mean, this guy looks like he could easily start on Sunday, and I'd probably be scared to come up against him, to be honest with you. He just looks absolutely solid. I'll need to send it to you because it does look good.
Has he just been doing the rounds on Twitter or something?
Aye. I'll try and get it in there.
I've not seen this.
I've tagged you in the reply to the comments, but aye, Michael, I know you were asking about what Robinson said. I think I'm probably more confident than I've ever been playing Rangers, and if we're going to pick up a win against Rangers, it's going to be this type of game today. So yeah, I know we've not done predictions for any other games, but I'll go 3-1 Simon for the weekend.
3-1. I'm not coming back on this show if that happens. I reckon I'm just going to retire in the I don't know, hide out. I'm going to go to the Philippines or something and just hide out there, spend the rest of my days just living without any technology, in solitude. I think that's what I'd do. I'll give my prediction.
I think that's when Russell Martin's mum might do the press conference after the game.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that might happen.
Yeah.
My boy's a nice lad. Leave him alone.
Aye, basically.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure his mum's a lovely person, but your son's a bad manager, so it's unfortunate. I'll give my prediction, and I don't know. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go back on what everything I've said, and I'm gonna say 3-0 to Rangers.
Stuart, what do you think of this game in Sunday, St Mirren and Rangers?
Oh, well, I mean, for Alex's sanity, I'll take a draw, right? Because I can't bear to see the man struggle and suffer as much as he's suffering at the moment. I think probably them being away from home, Rangers I'm talking about, obviously, is probably the best thing for them, because I think that kind of toxic, poisonous type atmosphere, if it wasn't going too well at home at Ibrox, would be even worse. When you talked about Stephen Robinson earlier on, I'm a great admirer of him. I think I said that the last time I was on the call. And I think some managers become synonymous with their clubs. So if you look at Martindale at Livingston, he's kind of like there for life. Well, that's how it kind of feels from the outside looking in. And because of that contract extension, you look at Stephen Robinson and it's starting to get that same feel about his position in Paisley. It's got that same, I was going to say comfort, because that's got connotations of being lazy and stuff, because I didn't think any team would ever be lazy under him. But I think when you get that continuity and that consistency of leadership, the only problem he might have is his continual to motivate a dressing room time and time again, because we've seen it with Alex Ferguson eventually when it didn't happen. But at this point, I think Stephen Robinson's a perfect fit for St Mirren. And I think any other provincial club looking at that would take him in an absolute heartbeat. But I think that it's a tough place to go, St Mirren Park. But I think Rangers will pull something out on Sunday, only because they've got to. I think it can't get any worse, and I think they'll pick up a point at least, and that's no disrespect to St Mirren, but I think they'll need to come out there with all guns blazing. And once Russell Martin's mum gives them their team talk, they're surely going to get fired in. Surely.
That's who I'm going to try and get on the show on Wednesday night after the European game, Alex. And I think you should interview as well. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Stuart, I remember the owner of Norwich City, Delia Smith, coming on the park at halftime and say, "Let me having you." I could just imagine Mrs. Martin doing that Ibrox at half time, as well, a bit of Braveheart as well. Let's move on now, before we get any more mummy comments coming in. Maybe I'll dress up as that Halloween, I'm not sure.
Stop it now, Michael, stop it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Dundee, let's get the sanity back. Come out against Dundee. I think the last time you were on the show, I think I can't remember if it was the first week of the season or the second week of the season when Big Elvis got appointed, and you weren't unsure and all the rest of it. But as I say in football, a few weeks is a long time. They went to Ibrox and there they beat Alex and Russell Martin's mum and all the rest of that. Honest, that's the last joke I've got up my sleeve at the moment about Russell Martin's mum. But a few weeks is a long time in football, and they went to Ibrox and picked up a point. I bet you they would be loving to get another game under the belt, but sadly Dundee's out of the League Cup. But they've got a away game tomorrow at Kilmarnock.
We do. We're done at Kilmarnock, another difficult place, as everybody knows, and playing surface probably in comparison to some of the other ones in the week just now isn't it the best. So you're never sure what's going to happen there. But if you remember, Michael, I said it was before the Hibs game. Actually, it was the first game of the season when we were talking about some of the calamitous interviews that Stephen Presley had conducted in it, and it makes me go back to Russell Martin just for a minute as well, and you wonder in terms of PR, the advice that these people are given before they're trotted out in front of reporters, and I'm not sure there's pretty much. In my day, it didn't happen, but clubs are a lot more professional now, and you would think that there would be a line to take instead of making outlandish statements, etc. And there was a few attributed to Stephen Presley, but you'll recall that I said that we hadn't played any games properly yet at that stage, and that it was a bit disrespectful. That's what I felt about the treatment of Stephen Presley, actually. I mean, I joined in it at times because it was a bit embarrassing, the things he was saying. But the reality was he's the manager of the club, and you've got to support the manager of the club. And to be fair to the guy, he produced one mediocre-ish organised performance against Hibs with it was pretty passive, to be fair, and they could have had a proper go at that game. But the performance at Ibrox was fantastic and unexpected from our point of view, and we felt, sorry Alex, but we felt we could have taken the 3 points actually, but for the penalty at the end. And so there's a different feeling around about the city about Dundee at the minute. We've recruited another player today. There's been a couple of additions made, and there's a couple more to come in. So I don't think that the pessimism and the doom and gloom that was surrounding the club away at the beginning is still there. What I would say is that if you look at the two performances, expected goals is the worst in the league. We've conceded the most shots in the league. Some of the stats, which is not what it's all about, but it does give you a pattern of play. But Hibs dominated the game. Rangers had more ball than we did, obviously, because we sat back. It was a behind the bus job for especially the first half. So you might have expected those stats not to look too favourably. But actually, going into the game tomorrow, I think that they're quite well placed. Their opponents have had a good start to the season. Kilmarnock started really well. I mean, they knocked Dundee United out the League Cup last Sunday. They've probably almost exceeded their expectations. They had a great performance at Easter Road when they come back from 2 goals down. So I think there'll be a cracking game on tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing it actually. Scott Tiffany, that left us in the summer, I don't think has started for Kilmarnock. But if you're off fancying the bet tomorrow, guys, put money on Scott Tiffany to score against Dundee, because it always seems to work that way when we play and the next player comes up against us. So yeah, I think they're in with a shout tomorrow, I think.
Stuart, I think one of the things that we spoke about, I remember when we were on the show before the season started, it was about Dundee's creativity, and I think the thing we've seen at Ibrox anyway was Dundee were quite good after set pieces. I feel like it's almost getting a bit more positive for Dundee in the sense that you've brought in Can Congreve today on loan. Obviously, Jan Danda came in last week. That's a couple of players there that can show a bit of creativity for Dundee, both attacking-minded players. It seems like it's gone a step, as you mentioned there a minute ago, more positive for Dundee now.
It's moved on a bit. I think that, losing Lyle Cameron, and actually he's probably exceeded my expectations. I'm not sure how he didn't play the other night, actually, Alex, or didn't start, did he?
No.
He's been good, but Danda can probably fulfil the role that he had, because he's a busy midfield player, and there's a bit of excitement about getting him. He had a great career at Ross County. Not so strong at Hearts, more competitive squad probably was the reasons for that. But a move here, at least on loan, will allow him to flourish a wee bit. So that could be a replacement. So the creativity that you say, quite rightly, looked like it was missing. might be in the form of Yandanda. So it's not a gloom and doom. It's not a gloom and doom. There's, like I say, there's a couple of signings in the offing. There's not a lot of rumours come out of Dundee these days. They're quite tight, but Presley is saying that there's a couple that he's trying to get over the line. So fingers crossed before the end of the transfer window that we can do that and bolster that squad. So it's not all gloom and doom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. And I think at the start of the season, I had Dundee going down clearly, because I just thought it was a shambles, and I got a bit carried away with all the Stephen Presley stuff, and he's sort of mind-boggling interviews, and maybe that fed into my thinking as well. But it is looking up, I think now, especially with, like we spoke about it, that performance at Ibrox, and I think Jan Dada's a fantastic signing. Because I feel like Dundee is the place where I think he will have a really good season. I'm going to make a wee prediction there. I think he's going to have a really good season because at Ross County he was a big fish in a small pond, and he was the man. And then he went to Hearts, like you said, Stuart, more competitive squad, and he faded a little bit. But now I think going to Dundee, he's maybe got that opportunity to be the main man again and really, light up the Scottish Premiership like he did at Ross County. So I think that's a fantastic signing. In terms of the game, though, coming up tomorrow, I think it will be competitive, but I just think Kilmarnock they've kind of moved under the radar for me a little bit. The opening game against Livingston wasn't great, but then against Hibs, coming back from 2-0 down, was really, really good. And then their win against Dundee United last weekend, and I've looked at their recruitment, and it looks like they've signed really well, and I think they're one that has taken a while, but I think now that they're kicking into gear, I think Kilmarnock could, potentially be in for a decent run. And unfortunately, I think, like I said, I think it will be competitive, but unfortunately for you, Stuart, I just think Kilmarnock will have too much for Dundee.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart, Graham's asking in the chat about how many signings do Dundee United need before the window shuts, and also good
Michael, you've just committed the cardinal sin there.
Yep, you have
called them Dundee United.
Oh right, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I will take that back.
Here, Michael, just not going to talk to you.
Yeah, well, that's the same in people in this house as well, Stuart. So that's okay.
In terms of signings, what they need to do, they're looking apparently at a right back. They're looking at a loan signing from Celtic. I know in the week that was one of the rumours that was flying about. They certainly need another midfield player because we've lost what would have been effectively the midfield enforcer, the guy Digby. He's picked up an injury when he's going to be out for about 6 to 8 weeks or so. And 6 weeks at the bottom of the league is quite a long time if you're not picking up points. So they're going to need to plug that gap quite quickly. And I think the manager has said that is priority for him. So a couple anyway, maybe one wide player. But again, it all depends on the purse strings, doesn't it? It depends on how much they're willing to spend. I think they've got, bizarrely, a lot of confidence in Stephen Presley's ability to get a team playing and working for him. Because I think I said the last time I was on this show that you won't find a player that says a bad word about him. And you'll find a lot of other folk that will. but in terms of people that he's coached, they can't speak highly enough of him. So we'll see. But certainly a couple right back in midfield is definitely a priority, and I think that he'll be making moves to do that in the coming days.
Stuart, is Simon Murray back yet for his injury, or is he still in the sidelines?
Yeah, he's trained. They played a couple of bounce games in the week. They played, I don't know which one he played in, but I think they played at Dunfermline and they played at Queen's Park in the same day. Obviously, not the same team, and I'm not sure which one he was involved in, but I think he played an hour. But we've got the derby coming up a week Sunday, so I'm wondering, because we've signed a guy, Wesley, had a really good game at Ibrox in the 1-1 draw, and I'm wondering if they would risk Simon Murray and maybe want to keep him back for the derby, which is basically our biggest game this season, obviously. So we'll need to wait and see. But he's fit to play, as I understand it. Yeah.
Stuart Stephen Place, they were speaking to the media yesterday. He said,
was he? Oh God, right.
Yeah, yeah. Then he says it's going to be a tough game, a good side, so it's going to be a challenge for us. As for Stuart Kettlewell, the command manager, he says we're going to have to switch on as they're a very good team. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Are you coming down to the game, Stuart?
No, not tomorrow. No, I'm not. You want a prediction though, Michael?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll win tomorrow 2-1. So
2-1.
I'm going for 2-1. Yeah.
There you go. So I believe that we have to make a sub at this point, and no one's actually coming on actually. So,
that's even more embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah, if you take somebody off and then replace them, God Almighty, right?
Exactly. But we'll still get there. One day. So Stuart, thanks for joining us on the show again, Stuart, and we'll speak to you soon.
You will do. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Good luck with your teams.
You too.
There we go, Michael. I'll follow up with Stuart, and I'll also go a Dundee win. I'll go 1-0. I was going to go 2-1 then. Stuart said it, so I'll go 1-0 to Dundee.
And now that Stuart's gone, I'm going to go 6-0 to Kilmarnock.
Half time.
On the Kilmarnock side, Alex, last year I didn't get time to ask Stuart, but one thing I've been asking everybody whenever their team's gone to play Dundee, and I'll continue asking it, how do you deal with Marcus Dackers? Because I don't know if you've seen the highlights for that game they played last week, but he is a handful. I mean, the Dundee United defence couldn't handle him. By the way, he's got a good right foot on him as well. I don't know if you've seen the goal, but he's got a good strike. So,
it was a nice goal, and he has a handful, obviously. The biggest thing about him is he's 6'7", pun intended. He's and that was a nice finish from him. However, I think if Dundee can organise their defence a bit better than Dundee United, it might not be much of an issue, because in that goal as well, the Dundee United defence parted like the Red Sea. I mean, it was a great ball from Connor Barron, and fantastic. Not Connor Barron, Ben Brannan. Ben Brannan. I don't know why I called him Connor Barron, but it was a great ball from Ben Brannan, and great finish. But the Dundee United defence was absolutely nowhere. So although I did say 6-0, so yeah, Marcus Dackers is going to be a handful. Going to get a hat trick, maybe an overhead kick in there. I think we're going to see one of the best, solo performances in SPFL history. He might even get all 6 goals.
Okay, yeah. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the game at Tynecastle tomorrow. Actually, it's Hearts against Motherwell, Robbie.
I'm interested to hear. I don't know if I'm still watching, but I'm interested to hear what he thinks of this one. Obviously, McInnes needs to bounce back. after the disappointment in Paisley. You know, I think there was probably a couple of things that McInnes would admit to go wrong in the game in terms of team selection. I think he probably had to start Claudio Braga and they didn't. So, you know, it's wee things that McInnes is going to learn for. You know, he is still very much new in the Hearts job. You know, very fresh. Stuff that he's got to learn about. Are you alright there, Alex?
Yeah, sorry, I've just clocked. Motherwell have signed Regan Charles Cook.
Yeah, I seen that earlier. Very good sign.
Sorry for my audible reaction there during the middle of your analysis, but it just totally caught me off guard.
It is a really good sign for Motherwell, actually. They've built a pretty good team now. But there's definitely things McInnes needs to learn for. But it'll take time. He's still, as I said, very new into the job. You know, but I think he'd probably admit he get a few things wrong. You know, please gamble responsibly. They have Hearts on my slip for the weekend, so I hope they can bounce back and win because I kind of need that. But no, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, I don't know if Regan Charles Cook's going to start in the Motherwell end. So I'll be interested to see how they line up as well. I think it'll be a very open game. Alex, I don't know about you. I feel like there's probably a couple goals in this game.
No, there is definitely potential for that, I think, based on the way the two of them play. You know, I think Hearts, they do have the potential to sort of be difficult and, you know, boring, but I don't think that'll be the case in this game. I think these teams will just bring the best out of each other. And, you know, we could see a couple of goals on either side. You know, it could. I don't think any team's keeping a clean sheet in this game. And then watch me say that, and it'll be 0-0. But you know, I think we are in for an exciting game. Yeah, and I'm just like really. I don't know about you guys, but outside the Rangers and my own kind of personal bias this season, I'm really enjoying the league. I think it's so interesting, and you don't really know week in, week out what's going to happen. Because I feel like there are quite a lot of decent teams and teams sort of emerging that you maybe didn't expect. I'm not sure what's going to happen every weekend. I'm enjoying it.
I think I'm excited to watch pretty much every game whenever it's on, whenever I can. You know, whereas former games, you know, you might have no disrespect to the old Livingston Ross County, but you might have looked at a game like that and probably no fancied watching it, to be honest with you. Whereas now I've looked at every sort of game. You know, even Kilmarnock Dundee at the weekend, I'd be interested to see how that one goes. Obviously, I know we've got 2 postponed fixtures, but Alex, you go right down to the Championship as well, and I think we'll probably speak about that later, but every game in there is intriguing as well. Obviously, we've got a very big game tonight, so, you know, it's always a big weekend every week.
Aye. It is. It's great. I just love it when it's this competitive, you know, and it helps me escape a little bit, you know. I can pretend I'm like supporting like Hamilton Accies for, even though that's depressing as well. But I can pretend that, you know, I'm supporting a club that, you know, isn't like you know, at least they're sort of playing to their expectations, because they don't really have expectations, instead of, you know, being miserable all the time. And yeah, I enjoy just like watching like random games, and to be honest, forgetting I support Rangers for the time being.
Well, there was a game that I can't remember the 2 teams. It's the first round of the Scottish Cup, and I know it's live on BBC, and I'm looking at that going, I can't wait to sit and watch that. You know, it's a completely random game. Got absolutely zero affiliation to either team, but it's just going to be watching football in it. But that's what's good about Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, how important is it for Hearts to bounce back after Robbie St Mirren's team put them out? Maybe that's what you've got to do, Robbie. Maybe if you don't go to the games, St Mirren will win more games, maybe. I don't know. But how important is it for Hearts tomorrow?
Really important. I think it's important for the supporters as well, because I didn't realise this until the game at the weekend. There's a lot of malice between St Mirren supporters and the Hearts supporters. And I think a lot of the Hearts supporters have been absolutely fuming. And the likes of you, Robbie, and Ryan have been loving it. And you know, I don't know if you saw that video Ryan posted that he got tons of heat for that.
Ryan gets some. I mean, I stick for that, but I think it's all a good bit of banter.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've gone to games. There is a lot between the North Bank and the Gorgie boys, but I mean, the likes of Graham and that in the comments. As always, a bit of friendly banter. I do feel bad for Hearts. I do believe it's going on 65 years since they won the League Cup. So penalties. As much as I enjoy putting them out, I was kind of like, how has it been that long since they've won that cup? But
yeah.
no, I mean, I think for this game, Michael, as Graham pointed out in the comments, it's so important Hearts bounce back. Especially at Tynecastle. This is, no disrespect to Motherwell. I think the way they play, they're sometimes slower getting it for the back. I think
There we go. That's Ryan to the rescue, eh? Who makes that a quiet flag of night when you've got banter on this show? Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
No, Motherwell, I think one of the things, and they've got a lot of praise for the way they sort of play out for the back, but I think they're too slow, Alex, as Rangers are at times. I know, for experience for playing against us, they were very slow trying to build it for the back. Obviously, I know against Rangers, they sort of transitioned the ball a bit quicker. I expect a very open type of game. Game's right. I think Hearts need to switch the system. I don't know why he's played the free back against us. It doesn't seem to work by Hearts. So there's a couple of tweaks that I think McInnes needs to make, but I think this is a game that Hearts should be able to bounce back in.
Yeah, no, exactly. And to be honest with you, it'll be a good atmosphere. I think you were mentioning about the Hearts and the St Mirren fans, and that's when they'd Robbie. I think maybe they were chanting Robbie's name because he wasn't at the game, but I'm not actually sure. But it'll be a cracking atmosphere tomorrow because I think Motherwell has sold out the allocation for the away end behind the goal, Alex.
Yes, if that is the case, I think that should be a good atmosphere. However, the allocation is not good there anymore. So that could take away from it slightly, but I'm sure the supporters that are going will make the best of it, and kind of I don't know, sort of just enjoy it and. So I said that sounds really cheesy. Just enjoy it and support their team and make the game a good spectacle. But anyway, yeah, no, but it should be really good. And this is just another one of like the exciting games that I mentioned. I'd agree with that comment that's just come up. Motherwell getting Charles Cook as a game changer. I think if he's the same, it's a game changer. I'm not. That's. That's. I'm loving this stream, but if Regan Charles Cook is the same player, I think it would be a game changer. I don't necessarily know how he's done. I know he's kind of been floating about Belgium and stuff like that for the past couple of years or so. Because I think he went to Eupen and then he moved somewhere else. Potentially after that, or if I don't know if he moved. I'm not 100% sure on his career path, but those couple of seasons at Ross County, it was him and somebody else. I can't mind his name now, but they were really good. If he performs to the same level, I think I had Motherwell maybe in 9th at the start of the league, but see the way they've signed, see the way I've seen them with their style of play. And if Regan Charles Cook hits the ground running, they could push for top 6. I genuinely think.
I'd agree with that. Prediction for the game, I'll go 3-1 Hearts.
Okay. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Motherwell, and Claudio Braga to miss a penalty.
There you go. So and also that's the games of the weekend done and dusted because obviously Hibs and Dundee United and it was Falkirk and Hibs this weekend. I'm sure it was. But obviously that the game's cancelled because of the European action on midweek. And don't forget, it's a wee quick shameless plug to say sign up to our YouTube channel, the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube, and follow us on X as well. And also a big week of European action. Of course, we'll be on Tuesday night with Celtic. Quarter to five will be on. Quarter to six kickoff for that one. Wednesday night, of course, we'll be covering Alex beloved Rangers. Quarter to seven will be on for that one, and then Thursday night for the European action for Aberdeen and Hibs. Kick will be on at 6:30 on Thursday night, and so there you go. Let's before we finish up, guys, let's look at the championship. Before we mention about the games, it was sad news coming out this week, Robbie, about Dougie Embry's baby daughter passed away. I think it was Monday, Tuesday this week. So, just for I would say, thoughts and condolences to the family and friends.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Michael thoughts and condolences go to the Emery family. Obviously, it must be a really, really tough time for them. And it's never nice to see that type of thing. So, my thoughts and prayers go to them.
Yep. And also, let's look forward to the games then. Are we kind of derby, but also a Celtic derby as well, because obviously you've got Barry Robson in one dugout and Neil Lennon in the other dugout for the first derby. Rafa was against Dunfermline tonight, 7:45 kickoff. Tomorrow's games, Airdrie against Queen's Park and Morton against Ayr United. Ross County against Packet Thistle. I think you might be looking at a game and you might be thinking, well, these two teams might be back up in the Premiership next season. And then also we've got St Johnstone against Arbroath as well. So, guys, your pick of the games of the weekend in the Championship.
I'll take the easy pick. I'll pick the derby tonight, Ref versus Dunfermline. I think it's going to be a cracker. Both. I don't know how much of the build-up you guys have seen, but there's been some really good promo on Ref side anyway for the big game, and that's what I'm buzzing to watch. I mean, you could take any pick, but I mean, Ross County, Partick Thistle will be a really good game. So Johnson Arbroath will be a decent game as well. So it's a really, Michael, I feel like we say it every week, it's a really, really good championship card.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go for the easy option as well. Say the game tonight. St Johnstone Arbroath though stuck out to me when I was looking through the fixtures. I feel like there's a couple of dark horses in the championship this season. One of them playing tonight. I feel like Dunfermline are quietly just building like a really good team, and if they can get a good start, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them in a playoff position at the end of the season.
Aye, by the way, speak about it as well, how much pressure's on Don Cowie tonight, by the way, because he's taking on a Partick Thistle team that beat them 3-0 a few weeks ago in the League Cup. He's not had a great start at all to life in the Championship. The pressure will be right on him to win this game tonight. More, sorry.
Yeah,
on the night.
And see with the squad that Ross County have, they should be walking this league. I reckon. I think the two best managers currently in the division are Neil Lennon and Simo Valakari, I would say, right now. And then, Don Cowie's just a little bit below that, but see with the players that he has, they should. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on with them right now, because they've like you said, Robbie, they've not been very good. there is massive pressure on them, and they need to get a win, and they should get a win against Partick Thistle.
Aye, and you look at a team I mentioned, Airdrie obviously let go of their player manager last week. It'll be interesting to see who they pick to replace them. Obviously, I don't know if they've made a replacement already, but they've got a tough test facing Queen's Park. So, but there's games up and down the division that look really good. I think the Knight's go to take the pick of the bunch, Michael. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
Watch that be a 0-0 as well.
Well, I mean, even if it was a 0-0, I think with the fans' point of view, it'll be a really good game. I mean, the atmosphere's going to be brilliant.
Aye.
Just while we've got you here, Alex, what do you think of Leanne Crichton being the new Rangers women head coach?
I think it's a good appointment. The Rangers made a signing today as well. I can't mind her name off the top of my head. I don't want to get it wrong because that could not come out the right way, and I could get in trouble. So I'll just quickly look up the name. But yeah, I'm quite confident because Rangers weren't. But they still got a double last season. Obviously, under new management, I think they'll just pick up where they left off and go into the new season strong. They're making signings, and sorry.
I was just they started off very well last week against Montrose ladies. Watching the highlights there, Leanne could have asked for a better start. Obviously, get a bit tense at the start and then 1-0 down. The red card probably changed the game for Rangers. But they'll be looking to try and win the league in a time where I'm not going to claim I know everything about the women's premiership, but Celtic women's, I know they started off with a 2-1 win at Hearts, but their managers came under a bit of criticism, especially at the end of last season. I think they fell into fourth at one point or fifth, so they've got a bit of pressure on them. Hibs look like they've started off really well with a 5-1 win at Aberdeen, so it's going to be another interesting year in the women's league.
Yeah, I've just saw the site. I've just pulled up the signing. Kim Shin-ji on loan from Roma for the season as well. So yeah, just strengthening that squad. And I saw Ryan putting in the comments there, Rangers final day bottle jobs, but at the end of the day, man, they were chasing. They were behind for a wee while, and then they were in front, and then it was up and down. Still won 2 cups and fell short at the final hurdle. A victory off of a treble, that's not too bad. So I don't think they'll be in too bad shape this season. I think they'll go again and maybe even go and get the treble this time.
Just to run through the women's games at the weekend, then Celtic playing Hamilton Accies 2 o'clock kickoff. Motherwell against Montrose, and Rangers against Hearts at the weekend as well. Okay, guys, that's all for us tonight. Thanks for watching. It's a busy show as always. We'll be back on Sunday. Looking back at the games, and then we'll be back on everything. It feels as though every night I'm on at the moment. Tuesday night, quarter to 5. Sorry, Wednesday, 6:45. By the way, I don't know this off by heart because I'm rigging this off a bit of paper and I'm trying to rig my writing. It's all over the shop. Thursday night is at 6:30 as well. So join us for that one. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Scottish Football Zone, and we'll follow us on X as well. And so we'll see you on Sunday.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.